Hi guys, and welcome back to the day 4 preview of the Cheltenham Festival, which is obviously the Gold Cup day, the Friday card. It's a very good card anyway, but obviously the Gold Cup being the complete blue ribbon event of the whole 4 days, and it is a fantastic renewal, I think, this year. I know in past years we've been leading up to the Gold Cup. Is it that good? This is a class renewal, I think, if everyone turns up to post. But it could be a class day, so let's get straight into it. I've got the old trusty notepad back with us. Hope you guys have been enjoying the previews. If you have, do remember to let me know, just so I'll continue doing them for the other festivals. If you want me to do them for Aintree, if you want to do them for Fairy House, Bunchestown, you guys just let me know. So we start off with the Triumph Hurdle. Usually a tough enough race to predict the Triumph Hurdle. Obviously Farclas and Mr. Adjudicator drawing clear last year, and that form has really not stood the test of time. Apple Shakira's been pretty poor, Stormy Ireland not great. The two in the finish haven't been overly brilliant. Probably Saldier was the only one that ran in that race that has in any way enhanced his reputation since. Obviously Espoir d'Alain, the forgotten juvenile of last year, really has enhanced himself as probably being the best. And you'd have to wonder with how he's done this year, whether if he'd run at Cheltenham and that kind of blip hadn't happened at Leopardstown, I think he would have won the Triumph Hurdle. But anyway, this year it's an intriguing race because we're more than likely going to see Sir Eric again. And I've been blessed, actually, and I do feel honestly blessed to have seen Sir Eric in his 2 starts over hurdles over Christmas, when only just beating Tiger Tap Tap in a photo finish in a maiden hurdle. That seemed to just be a wind-up job, seemingly, because he came out in the Spring Juvenile Hurdle at the Dublin Racing Festival and absolutely pissed in for Mark Walsh, beating Tiger Tap Tap, I'd say, around 10 lengths in 4th. He's just an almighty horse. Like, he's such a lovely looking horse to look at in the paddock. Now, I'm no horse connoisseur, like, when in terms of, how they look and stuff like that and what you're looking for in a very good horse. I'm no connoisseur about it, but a blind man could tell you that this horse is a beautiful looking horse. He looks every bit like one of those pristine flat horses, to be honest. But the difference between him and some of these other flat horses is this horse loves to jump. And that performance at Leopardstown, he was perhaps a tad sticky first 2 or 3 hurdles. That's the only not negative, but only like criticism you could even come to think of. And second half of the race, he was absolutely electric, comes down to the last, absolutely pings it, and away he goes. And Mark Walsh had done one of those rides where he just kind of was saving him, and the others were packing in. And you never know, because sometimes the others then go by and your man's actually sitting on nothing. But this time around, Mark Walsh just brought them closer, and then pissed away from them, almost to just mock them. It's quite a good Triumph Hurdle, though. There's some good horses here that won't win this race. I don't know where they're actually going to end up with Fakir Duduris. Kel Destan is a very likeable horse over in England for Paul Nicholls, very hardy type. But I don't think he's quite got the class to beat Sir Eric. And also, I think the each-way alternative here is a horse that I've mentioned now twice behind Sir Eric, and it's Tiger Tap Tap at 12-1. I just, for some reason, don't think he quite ran his race in the Spring Juvenile Hurdle. He didn't have a great passage through either. He was held in for the majority of the home turn, when obviously at Leopardstown, that's where you need to be making your move. No doubt, he would never have beaten Sir Eric, but he could well have finished second without that interference, because the interference came from the horses that ended up coming second and third. So he was a bit of an unlucky 4th in my eyes, and I think he could run into a place. I suspect they'll ride him pretty cold at the back, probably Ruby Walsh on board, and perhaps can sneak into a bit of place money at 12-1. We'll leave the county hurdle for now. We'll go to the handicaps at the end as per, and move on to the Albert Bartlett. And the Albert Bartlett's an interesting race, because at the head of the betting are kind of quite a few horses from obviously big stables. Birchdale's there, Battle Over Doyen is there, what's the other horse? Commander Fleet is there. And I don't fancy any of them, to be honest. And instead, I mentioned her when putting up Drover's Lane for the 4 miler, but I'm a big fan of Rebecca Curtis as a trainer. And I said in that video, I couldn't remember his name, but that she had a chance for the Albert Bartlett. And the horse's name is Lisnagar Oscar. And he went out at Haydock on the weekend and absolutely pissed it in a 3 mile novice hurdle, grade 2. And he's now 8-1, so his price has contracted a fair bit. But he's won his last 2. He seems to really be putting it together now over hurdles, jumping that bit slicker. He won a maiden hurdle, or a novice hurdle even at Chepstow the time beforehand, which I saw in the box. And he was very impressive that day. And he was obviously very impressive yesterday. He has grade 2 form in the book. He's won one and he's come second to Rock Point in another one at Cheltenham. So you know he likes Cheltenham. And 8-1 I think is still an alright price, because I just don't... The Albert Bartlett's a funny one because you always get a decent price on a strange enough horse. Well, not a strange enough horse, but you're not the typical horse, because there's always a few coming from the major stables that are going for favouritism. And to be honest, the record for favourites in this race is absolutely abysmal, so I'd be steering clear of them. And I think Lisnagar Oscar at 8 is a cracking price and a cracking bet. Because 8-1 is still an each way bet if you feel like it. Another one that I'm very, very interested by, which would be my Irish hope for the race, is a Philip Dempsey trained horse called Darren Ross, who's now won 2 back-to-back graded races. I think one at Cork and one at Limerick. He won the Limerick race over Christmas, and that was the race that Penn Hill won 2 years ago before going on to win the Albert Bartlett at 16s. This horse is 12-1. You know, I suppose if you're going to highlight negatives, he does seem to be a front-running kind of gutsy type, and perhaps he'll just be run out of it in a higher quality race. But that being said, this horse stays forever. I think he's going to be a 3-mile plus horse over fences. He obviously stays the trip. He's a slick enough jumper. And to be honest, perhaps I don't think leading is a necessity. I think he'll be up in the van though. Luke Dempsey is a very good rider, obviously riding for his dad. They've had some great successes this year, including Darren Ross, including Dinny's Vinny in the Porterstown handicap. So they've had a lot of good success, and I just think this horse, again, it will go under the radar because of the trainer, and I don't think it deserves to be. I think it's beaten some of the best 3-mile novice hurdlers in Ireland, and to be honest, I can't understand why it's not 8-1, and therefore 12-1, you're beaten value. We move on to the Gold Cup, and the only bad thing about the Gold Cup is if you've actually been watching the channel all year, you'll pretty much know who I'm about to put up in the Gold Cup. But as hard as I try, I just can't get by presenting Percy here as my Wayne kind of win bet. He's at 3s. Would I tell you to back him at 3s right now? The answer is no. I think 3s is a crap price. I think he'll be at least 3s on the day, if not a bit bigger. I think they'll try to get him, the bookies will try to get him beat because of his prep. I think he should run in the race. I've seen some things after him not running in the Red Mills. You know, people giving out on Twitter about how Pat Kelly is being ignorant and all that. Go figure. Like, Pat Kelly can do whatever the fuck he wants with his horses. Like, he's the one training them, not us. Like, it's obviously nice when a trainer says, you know, what's happened, or like, and some trainers are very good at it, but usually the better ones are very coy. And Pat Kelly, he's just, like, this isn't like he's just doing it with this horse. Like, he doesn't tell you anything about his handicap hurdler at Clonmel. Like, he just doesn't talk. He's not that type of a guy. I wouldn't particularly worry. I think Pat Kelly knows what he's doing, and hopefully this horse will take a lot of beating. And to be honest, I've come down on him because I just can't see the alternatives. I'm not a Clantes Oboe fan myself. I know he's matured a lot, but I do have doubts about whether he'll stay, and I have doubts about Cheltenham for him. He's 0 from 4th track, which obviously isn't ideal. Native River is a great horse. I do like Native River a lot. I just think he's vulnerable on better ground. I think he'll stay all day though, and he is one of the guaranteed stayers in the race, which is obviously a good thing. Bells Hill and Kemboy are a bit of much of a muchness for me. I think Mullins is a better horse, as I'll probably mention now in a minute or two. But they've both won good races at Leopardstown, but I don't think, certainly that Bells Hill race was a bit of a farce. That brings in Road to Respect, don't think he's good enough. Be a massive effort for Thistlecrack to win this. So I think Presenting Percy is your major shout. And the each-way shout, you guys know who it is. On at 33s at the start of the year, it's Alboom Photo at 12 to 1. My idea through this, as it has been all year, would have been a 2-time Grade 1 novice chase winner if it wasn't for that accident at Punchestown. Instead, he won a Grade 1 at Fairyhouse. He would have come second or third in the RSA behind Presenting Percy, so he does have stuff to find. Although he was ahead of Presenting Percy in a Grade 1 novice hurdle, albeit they were 4th and 5th or something, but that's not bad form. He came back this year, was better than ever at Tremor, beating Total Recall and Invitation Only. Beat Invitation Only 20 lengths. Invitation Only went out and won the Thyestes. It's just stacks and stacks of form lines for me, and I think Al Boom has a massive chance at 12s. There's no other, the only other non-handicap is this Foxhunters, and I'm not a fan of the Foxhunters, and I don't know whether I'm not a fan of the Foxhunters because I don't like the race, or whether I've just had no luck in the race. Probably a bit of both. The last time I had luck in this race was when On the Fringe won. On the Fringe, what a brilliant horse. Like, what I'd do for On the Fringe to be in this, so I would have some horse to back. But I don't know whether he'll run. I haven't seen him for a while. I don't know whether he has been point-to-pointing or not. But Gilgamboa, obviously, is the class angle into the race. He's at 5s. If he runs, I think he has a massive chance. And I think certainly, considering his good Cheltenham form, I think Shantou Flyer at 8 to 1 is an intriguing horse in at Hunter Chase form, or whatever you want to call it now. He won last time out. He blew up on his seasonal reappearance, but won last time out under a power-packed ride. Looked like he was beat and came back from the dead. I think David Maxwell's leased him as an owner, and he'll ride him. Hopefully, Dave Maxwell, there's plenty to like about him, and hopefully he'll run close. Moving on to the 3 handicaps. The 3 handicaps on the last day are very, very difficult. Starting off with the County Hurdle. My best day with the County Hurdle obviously came on Arctic Fire when he won at 25s. Haven't seen success since. And Mullins has a good record in the race, and usually has horses that will go close. I was obviously very disappointed last year. I backed San Send, who obviously, very unfortunately, went wrong before the final hurdle, but seemed to be coming home with a bit of a chance. It was painful to see, because, hey, there's nothing more distressing, I find, than watching a horse go wrong. It's so disappointing. It's just awful to see. But anyway, as I say, Mullins usually has a alright record in the race and usually throws a few decent enough bullets at it. I don't know whether either of these are going to run, but both Mr. Adjudicator and Whiskey Sour are both 16 to 1 for this race. I'd say it's more likely Whiskey Sour is going to run in it than Mr. Adjudicator, but if either of them run in it, I think 16 to 1 is a good price. Mr. Adjudicator obviously second in the Triumph last year. Whiskey Sour, a Grade 1 winning novice hurdler in his own right. So the two of them have their chances, I think, and both should go close if either of them run. And one, a horse that I've backed too many times, unfortunately, but Tudor City is here at 20 to 1. I'd say they'll go over. I'd say Tony Martin will want to run her in the County Hurdle, a race that he won with Ted Veal down in the past. Tudor City's all about these big handicaps on the flat, staying flat handicaps and these hurdle handicaps. He's got fantastic handicap combat skills. And that race at Leopardstown where he came 8th, perhaps that Coral Hurdle or Ladbrokes Hurdle or whatever they call it these days, might have been a nice little pipe opener. The Grand Annual is a race I very much struggle to ever get a handle on. I've got two English horses in here. One that I backed on the weekend and I thought was very impressive. A Gary Moore horse called Not Another Muddle, who's now 3 from 3 over fences. He's therefore pretty unexposed still. He could be much better than he already is. And I think Gary Moore is a very good trainer, very understated trainer. And this horse, he's shaped like a horse that would appreciate the Grand Annual because he's a bit of a hold-up horse, come late. You know, he likes a fast pace to aim at. And 16 to 1 could be a big price come the day. Considering the Grand Annual, it's one of the last races. You know, I think it's now the second last. They've moved it ahead of the Martin Pipe this year. But bookmakers usually fly out 5 or 6 places on the Grand Annual. And hopefully we can capitalise with Not Another Muddle. And another horse that I quite like, a game front-running type, is Aussie the Oscar at 20 to 1. He probably needs further than 2 miles these days, but that mightn't be a bad thing in the Grand Annual because he'll take a stare to win it. He didn't run very well last time out at Doncaster, but before that was second in the Haldon Gold Cup. He's just a pretty admirable sword. He's run well at the festival before, came third in the county hurdle the year that Arctic Fire won it. So he's got decent enough Cheltenham form, and I think he'll go close at 20s. The Martin Pipe, on the other hand, as much as I've gone for 2 English horses in the Grand Annual, the Martin Pipe has been monopolised by Irish horses recently, and I feel it could do so again. Obviously, Dallas They Picked On is being backed off the boards. He's in at 11 to 2 now. That's very, very skimpy for me, and therefore I'd be siding more so with Rhinestone for Joseph O'Brien, a horse I put up as a horse to follow at the start of the season, and finally kind of got things right and got things coming together when second in the Grade 1 2-6 race at the Dublin Racing Festival. Therefore, he'll probably be in here of one of the top weights if he does run. But it's a race that I suspect JJ Slevin will be able to ride him in because it's the boys' race. And I think he could go close at 10s. He's second favourite, I think, so you'd like to think he'll go close if he does run. Again, probably plenty of places on offer. But I'd like to think this horse could go very close to winning it. And another horse that I'm saying, these are obviously if they run. These handicaps are so difficult to know who is actually going to run. But a horse called Sam's Profile at 14 to 1 for Mouse Morris. Mouse Morris has been a bit duped by the whole Gigginstown thing. Like, he's just doesn't have any horses anymore, but he still has a few lively enough types. And this Sam's Profile came second to Battle Over Doyen in the Lawler of Naas Novice Hurdle. So if you like Battle Over Doyen at all, you surely like this horse, who finished a 3-length second to him. Even then was hampered on the run-in. Brian Cooper was riding him that day. Brian Cooper obviously won't be able to ride him if he runs in the Martin Pipe. So I'd say Cooper's eyeing up the Albert Bartlett for Sam's Profile. If he does run in the Albert Bartlett, I'd probably have a little bit of an each-way squeak on him. But his main hope, for me anyway, is the Martin Pipe. So that concludes the 4 days of previews. That is your Gold Cup day. As I said in the first episode, I'll be doing smaller, more concise videos, like kind of almost the week of the festival, just kind of concluding my fancies. They're probably, like in the races that nothing changes, I'll just say nothing's changed. But anyway, I'll get back to you on those ones, and they'll come up as like Cheltenham Festival preview, final selections, something like that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. It really does help. And also, obviously this is the Gold Cup preview. Who are you backing for the Gold Cup? Are you a Presenting Percy fan? You a Clan des Obeaux fan? A Native River plodder? Or an Alboon Photo Ruffy? I'll see you next time.